Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Well Launched Live. My name is Kevin. I'm the owner of Well Launched, where we produce high quality websites, a great booking platform for you and for your growing business, and AI voice receptionists so that you can take less calls or no calls. All right? That's what we do. And with that, I want to talk to you about what we're here to talk about today. I'm going to frame it in question form. Are you prepared for AI? No, not a good enough question. A better question. Will AI help you to have the dominion that God calls his people to have over the world? Or will you allow AI to destroy you? Oh my goodness. Guys, today we're going to do something a little bit different, not completely different, but I want to talk to you guys about AI. Now, AI, if you don't know what it is, it's artificial intelligence, and it's a series of computer networks and systems and code and so on that essentially takes the vast span of information that humans have gathered throughout the course of humanity and condenses it and makes it accessible to whoever is able to use the AI, right? It's here. For me, I was extremely skeptical of it because I thought, well, I don't want to be replaced. I'm a creative guy. I'm one of those people that, thinks that I'm supposed to take from the vast knowledge that humans have gathered and spin it and creatively adapt it into something pleasing and beautiful and so on. And so I was very intimidated about the realities of AI. But then, as I've told this story before, but then when I was confronted with someone wanting to use AI to do what I'm good at, I was able to see that it's really a choice, right? Somebody wanted to use AI to write a song. Now, I could have used the AI to write the song. And then voila, bye-bye, Kev, you're obsolete, right? But rather, I saw that and was encouraged that the things I'm good at, I ought to dig in and dig deep, right? Especially if I'm, to some degree, going to be competing with technology. But also, that there's a bunch of things that I'm not good at that actually complement what I am good at. And if I'm able to use AI to accomplish those ends, then I can vastly improve my ability to serve and my ability to accomplish what is set before me, right? And so, I've been thinking about that because one of my products is an AI product, my AI voice receptionist assistant, right? AI, amazing. It's based on an open language model which receives input, AI, i.e., a caller's voice and what they have to say. It interprets and analyzes, and it communicates conversationally with those who call the AI, right? To accomplish whatever the ends are for my clients, right? Whether it's booking appointments, disseminating information, whether it's, discovering intent or urgency or whatever the case is. The AI can, within the bounds of how it's been configured, can manage conversational, tactics in order to get things done for my clients. Now, underneath that AI was set up, how my assistants are set up, is there is a component of automation that takes place either during these calls or after these calls. And that allows the information that the AI has gathered, right, in a conversational way to be, to be sent to go do things, right? The actual booking of the appointments, the actual notification sending, all these things are automated, right, using other means and so on. And it's a great, in terms of my package that I offer, it's a great cherry on top, right? It kind of brings together everything I was already doing, and and I've been blessed to be able to learn the language, apply it, effectively, and it's a beautiful thing, and it's going to take my business to the next level. Now, the reason I posed the question in the first place the way I did was because there's a real sense where the presence of this artificial intelligence could threaten certain aspects of humanity. Now, in my opinion, it's optional, right? What I mean is, just like with the writing of that song, if I had let the AI write the song, now I'm obsolete. Right now, I can sit back and say, oh, I wrote all these songs and really have AI do it. But really, I'm making myself obsolete. If anyone ever found out or whatever the case may be, it would be sort of scandalous. Like, how is he a songwriter if, the AI is writing all of his songs for him? Right? But there are ways, I think, to use the AI like we use a hammer or like we use a drill or an oil rig or, Google search or, a laptop. And I framed it in the sense of dominion versus destruction because God has, in his word, told us that one of the things he intends for us to do is have dominion over the world, to subdue the earth, right? And to have dominion. And a lot of times when there's two ways people see dominion. There's the one side where people are afraid of that word, where they think, well, dominion is something evil. It's if they have dominion, if somebody has dominion, then they get to do whatever they want. You know what I mean? And it's like a scary thing. And then there's the reality of the dominion that God intended, and it's for us to make the most out of what we've been given, to multiply the things that are meant to be multiplied, to tame the things that are meant to be tamed, so that we have order in the world around us, right? And so AI, in my opinion, is a really effective tool for managing a particular realm or scheme of things that allow us to have more dominion. I mean, it'll allow us to travel into space or hopefully have a lot of progress with medicine. And it's really a way to condense and combine the wealth of knowledge humans have gathered over time and to be able to apply it effectively to certain things. But then there's the realm of destruction, where one, we put it in our place and make ourselves obsolete because we don't really do anything. We just let it do everything and, see what happens. But then there's also the destruction that comes from using it as a tool, but with the wrong heart. Now, let me explain. In the Bible, you probably heard, if you ever read the Bible or heard anyone talk about it, the Tower of Babel, right? This is a time where human beings were, majorly in the same place, speaking the same language, using their tools and their resources, to work together to accomplish an end, right? Very similar to what these GPTs and these AI, things are able to do. They're able to gather all that information and apply it to a singular end. But the heart of the people at that time was to build a tower to attain heaven, to reach God on their own. See, they had been cast out from the garden because of sin, and now, as a collective, we're striving to be in the place where God had cast them out without having the proper permissions, you see. And in that case, God said, boom, I'm going to disrupt the languages. I'm going to spread them out across the globe, because there's this, in the Bible it says, well, because if they come together and they do this, they can do virtually anything. Now, God was not saying that humans could overthrow me if they work together. We know that's not true. The book of Revelations makes that very clear, right? Even when the nations rage together against God, the man of war, Jesus Christ, is victorious over all his enemies. So we're not thinking that, but we're thinking about our destruction. It was our arrogance in Babel that separated us, that did all these things, rather than work together for some end that didn't have a heart surrounding taking from God what is God's, right? Rather than having a heart that, hold on, let me make sure I'm saying this right. Rather than having a heart that is, using what we have to do what God has called us to do, even though we do have the consequence of sin, they used it to try to take from God what was God's, right? There's a real sense in which human beings could use AI to try and obtain from God what is God's. And because that's a foolish endeavor, end up destroying ourselves as a result, okay? Now, You might disagree with me, but I'm not sure what other options there are. We either use it to have the dominion in the proper way that God intended for us, or use it to try and dominate heaven and God and become gods, which is obsolete and will never happen. Right? So I think those are the two options. But there is, I think, a way, right? And I'm going to hopefully be a voice in terms of propelling this direction to use this tool to better our time on this earth, whatever God has for us to do. This earth is not all about suffering, though we will suffer in many ways. There is still, even after the fall, there is still this objective to subdue the earth and have dominion. And I think AI will be a great tool in doing that, just like a hammer, just like any other tool we've ever used to make our lives wonderful. Okay, so I want to show this video, not a whole video. I got maybe 2 minutes of this video we'll go through. And it's an interesting video just talking about what AI has accomplished up until this point, what it can do, and ways in which people are using it. And I think that I'd like to give you some suggestions on how to use it and how not to use it. Okay, so without further ado, I'm gonna pop these headphones on that I've been holding this whole time. And let's see here. We are going to look at this. Just a couple of minutes of this. Okay, so let's check it out. Let's see.
I asked ChatGPT, for example, to write a poem about Wilfur, and here's what it came up with.
Wilfur the gander, with feathers so fine, soaring through skies, a majestic design. With honks so loud and a wingspan so wide, he glides through the clouds with grace and with pride. Wilfur the gander, so strong and so true, a symbol of freedom, a sight to pursue. Through fields and forests he'll lead the way, with a spirit so wild he'll never sway. Here's to Wilfur, our feathered friend. May his journey never come to an end. With skies so wide and a heart so pure, he'll always be remembered, forevermore.
Okay, so interesting, right? This is a story about this, gander named Wilfur, and I think that sorry, I should have paid more attention. But and there's this whole backstory about the majesty of Wilfur and his goals and so on. And ChatGPT, right? A GPT, right? Which is I forget exactly what it stands for, but an AI program system. It wrote that. Right, with no prompting whatsoever, just hey, give me a story about this, and there it is. Very interesting. Let's see what he says.
Keep in mind, this was written by a robot in about 3 seconds without requiring any context whatsoever. And it gets a whole lot more interesting than this. One of ChatGPT's strong points is that it's capable of summarizing and reinterpreting text. You can ask it to break down Shakespeare's works in a 10-page essay or write a dissertation on the parallels between ancient mythology and the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Now, interesting. Okay, so what it's doing is it's compiling information, right? And it is essentially being able to access a slew of information, super quick. To write a story like that in 3 seconds, it's tremendous, right? It's tremendous and scary, right? There's some good applications, but there's also a lot of things to be watchful for. So let's keep looking.
Has obviously given students an insanely powerful tool to trick the academic grading system. Linguist and Professor Emerita of Linguistics Naomi Barron has praised ChatGPT for how good it is at writing. She states that, and I quote, "It's better than most of the writing that I've gotten from students over the decades." No wonder then that these students are rushing to use the chatbot in their assignments.
Yo, that's so crazy. I remember writing papers, and when I had a chance to write about something that was interesting to me, it was amazing to be able to use my mind to come up with different clever ways of saying things. And in high school, I had a teacher, a really good teacher, who allowed me and some of my other friends to use some of the lingo we came up with in our papers as long as it was grammatically correct. And that was so cool because it made us love writing all the more. Now I can see how using GPT, right, a GPT or a ChatGPT in this case, to gather resources relevant to a topic, right, and then use my own, and maybe even outline, right? Help with the outlining and figuring out a right way to disseminate this information, but then using my mind or your mind, right, to make that into something beautiful and elegant, right? Something creative, something that has not just a wealth of experience, but has the unique standpoint of you as a human being in terms of communicating what you'd like to communicate. See, the GPT is going to communicate based on whatever, if it's not prompted correctly, it will just make something up, right? And, we have to remember, first and foremost, and this is a big point, that God made everyone in his image uniquely. And so we all have a unique perspective, a unique life experience that is useful when shared with the larger scheme, with the grand scheme. So although ChatGPT can take the multitude of experiences and condense them and pump something out, it does lack the uniqueness of your experience, right? So I can see it being very useful, and I hope that these students that they're talking about aren't just typing a prompt in, getting a paper and turning it in. I hope that they're using it to gather information in a concise way and then pouring their unique experience and their unique thought patterns and so on into creating a very unique and helpful paper. In that sense, I can understand why it would make papers better and better, because it's allowing us to tap in to our unique perspective without necessarily having all of the, outside info, all the kind of white noise that you get when you kind of search aimlessly. You know what I mean? So let's see what he says. We're almost done.
Writing coach Peter Laffin has stated in an interview that ChatGPT has the capacity to blow up our entire writing education curriculum. The more easily available this is for younger students, the more problems this will create. He concluded by saying, "We may have to rethink education from the ground up."
Okay, so that's all I really wanted to share. That's a great video. Look, how artificial intelligence will take over by Andre Terbea. Go ahead and check him out. This is the only video I've ever seen from him, so I'm not like this. I don't know what else he's got. Hopefully he doesn't have some crazy stuff. But check out this video at least. It can at least get you thinking about this stuff in a new way. But the interesting thing is for when it talks about younger students, right? So if younger students learn that this is just a way they can get by, they'll never actually improve. You know what I mean? Like, I remember in high school, we have to write papers and people would get caught all the time for plagiarism. And I'm not saying I'm holier than thou, because I plagiarized quite a few times. The reason I never got caught, and look, don't plagiarize, please. Let me just make that very clear. It's not funny to cheat. Do not plagiarize. I'm just giving you the experience that I had. The reason I didn't get caught plagiarizing is because I would take something and then I would almost rewrite it in my own words. I would make it a new thing. I would take that pool of information and make it a brand new thing. So when they would implement it and when they would upload it into, plagiarism detectors, it wouldn't have the same notes or it wouldn't have the same formats. It would be totally rewritten, and so like, I don't feel good about that. And also in those moments when I did that, I wasn't actually able to learn a vast, I wasn't able to gain a vast pool of knowledge based on that thing I was supposed to study, right? So I missed out in a lot of ways. But what I'm saying is plagiarism and all this has been around for a long time. And that was just with Google, right? Like when I was younger, internet was still relatively new. Google was relatively new. And so, that's just with Google. So I can only imagine how with ChatGPT, people can even get away with taking some information and then having GPT switch it around for them to where it looks brand new and unique. But just the ability to learn and to grow and to grow your mind into what it needs to be effective is just going to be nullified. Like there just won't be any learning going on. And that's not good because the best here's my take on it. The best uses of AI come from people that have the best intentions, that prompt it the best, right? That tell it what to do the best, that have the most thoughtful process by which they instruct the AI, right? AI prompting is something that I think is, like super important, right? The AI doesn't just do everything on its own. It's got to be prompted, right? And so the more intellectual, the more versatile, nuanced prompts that AI is given, the better result it can have. And the only way to get nuance, the only way to get, better, just more thoughtful responses from AI is for you to be thoughtful. And in order for you to be thoughtful, you've got to be wise. You've got to have intellect, right? You've got to build that and grow that. And so I think the reason why he said we have to rebuild education from the bottom up is because we have to now teach the youth how to learn, right? Rather than to be, like I heard somebody say that before, what would happen is teachers would prompt students, and then the students would go out and execute their prompts in the world, right? But now with artificial intelligence, you have in a lot of ways, there's, more ways in which artificial intelligence and technology will take over mundane tasks of human beings. So there will be less opportunities for humans to just go fulfill their prompts, because there will also be, technology that can do that. And so the best thing to do would be to teach the youth how to become prompters themselves. So prompting the kids to be prompters so that when they go out and deal with this AI, they have a strong, they have a stable chance to be able to interact well in this world of AI. I think it's already here. It's not a matter of if it's coming, it's already here. And so we ought to be diligent to learn how to live in that world, because what is inevitably going to happen is that there will be people that fall into the category of needy, right? The more the technology grows, the more people will be needy, because there's just an inevitability that some people won't be able to keep up with the changing trends. I mean, it's just like when, it's just like the Paul Bunyan story. Like Paul Bunyan, he had the axe, right? And they had the tree cutting machine. And if my memory serves, he beat the tree cutting machine, but then he died, right? Like that's not good. Like he's dead, like that's not great. So I want to encourage you that we ought to think of all of this in the context of dominion, and in the context of God giving us the assignment to subdue the earth and have dominion over the earth, right? This is what we've been called to do. And this tool, this artificial intelligence tool, we can either use to do that, to multiply our gifts, to do all of that, or we can throw our hands up and sort of be replaced in a lot of ways or fall into a needy category. I mean, I'm going to mention this because my wife was watching a show about like old England, right? And they had like these workhouses. And like these people, they kind of walked through a simulation of living in old England. And so they had these workhouses. So they didn't do great at all these other jobs. So then they end up having to go to this workhouse where they didn't get paid. They just worked and were fed. So they were to live somewhere and were fed, but the living conditions were bad and the food was scant, right? It was scarce. And so people would die even in the workhouses, and so that's a bleak reality that I don't want for you or for anyone. But it is a reality based around the fact that we are people who brought sin into the world, and the whole world groans for the coming of Christ. And so there is tragedy. There are unfortunate situations and circumstances like that, and they can happen to anyone, whether you love God or not. These things can impact you. And so my encouragement to you guys would be, let's work together to figure out how to prompt ourselves to be better prompters, right, for the tools and the technology that we use. So for instance, if I want to better hammer things, I've got to learn to use the hammer, and then I've got to implement the use of the hammer, and then the building commences, right? So let's learn together about the many ways we can use AI, not to replace us, not to try and replace ourselves and be lazy and get obsolete that way, and also not not to try and use the AI to take what is not ours, right? To make ourselves to be some kind of, deities or whatever, or, in that case, because that's never going to happen. That'll lead to our destruction and to more enmity with God. But let us use it to figure out how to execute our assignment, to subdue the earth and have dominion over the world to the glory of God and for our good. You know what I mean? So y'all, that's a little bit different for the day, for today. But I think it was good. And I'm thinking maybe one day a week I'll go through this, because Well Launched does implement AI just happily, right? Happily. And so I want to help you guys to understand that. So, and we're going to do everything that we do in the context of who God is, what he's done, and what he wants us to do. And so let's apply that to the use of AI as well. All right, guys, I hope that was concise and considerate. I hope that you are well, as you go through life. I hope that you turn your life to God and to Christ Jesus, and that your life be blessed. And I hope that if you need what we got over here, Well Launched, that you sign up today and get Well Launched, okay? Until next time, peace.